Chapter 16. What happened after that was all kind of a blur. News traveled fast, and the next morning, Augie's face was on the front page of the Wauwatosa newspaper with the headline, "Local Boy Becomes Big Cheese." A television crew was outside on the Cooter's front lawn when Augie came out to take Turk for his morning walk. Reporters began firing questions at him. "How old were you when you first started charving?" "When do you leave for Hollywood?" "What are you going to do with the money?" "What money?" asked Augie. "Didn't anyone tell you?" said one of the reporters. "Everybody who goes on the show gets $10,000. And if you win the whole shebang, well, then we're talking really big bucks." $10,000? said Augie. "Are you sure about that?" "That's right, 10,000. Purrup, purrup," cried Augie happily, because he knew exactly what he was going to do with the money. By noon, Augie had received calls from a dozen different cheese companies asking if he'd be willing to use their product when he went on the show. Augie's Aunt Hetty called to congratulate him, to say she'd always known he was destined for greatness. The Cooters were very proud of their son, and Mrs. Cooter carefully glued the newspaper clipping about Augie into the scrapbook. Augie had entered more contests than he could count, but this was the first time he had ever won anything. He should have been purrupping happily all over the place, but the one problem was he felt bad about Donica. The Cooters had called the Perfectos immediately when they heard about Donica's teeth, insisting on paying half of the dental bills. But Augie knew that Donica's chipped teeth were only part of the reason she was mad at him. She had wanted to win herself, and even though she had tricked Augie into teaching her how to charve, he still felt guilty that he was the one who was going to be going to Hollywood. He wished he could think of something he could do to make it up to her, but so far the only idea he'd come up with was to crochet her a pair of shoelaces, which he planned to do as soon as he could get his hands on some pink yarn. Later that day, Augie was out in the garage pumping up his bicycle tires when a shadow fell across the floor. At first he thought maybe it was another reporter coming to ask him more questions, but when he looked up, there was Donica Perfecto. "Oh, hi," said Augie. "How are your teeth feeling?" "I'm not here to talk about my teeth," Donica told him. There was a gleam in her eye that made Augie feel uncomfortable. She wasn't a big girl, but Donica looked pretty strong. Augie thought there was a distinct possibility that he was about to get flattened. "Are you ready, Augie Cooter?" Donica asked. "Not really," Augie answered truthfully. "Well, get ready, because when I'm done with you, even your own mother's not going to be able to recognize you." Donna Perfecto did not flatten Augie in his garage that afternoon. What she did do was offer him a deal. "I'll forgive you for what you did if you let me be your manager." Truthfully, Augie had no idea what a manager might do, but he didn't care. As soon as he heard the word forgive, he was sold on the idea. "Purrup, purrup," he said, relieved to be off the hook. "I'm going to assume that ridiculous noise you're making means we have a deal," said Donica. "Yippers," agreed Augie happily, "and now I don't even have to find pink yarn." When Augie Cooter walked into Mr. Slovanowski's classroom on Monday morning, everybody was excited to see him. People who didn't normally even say hello came running over to clap him on the back. "I saw you in the newspaper. Everybody's talking about you." "Hey, Augie," giggled America Johnson, holding out 2 pieces of paper she had ripped from her notebook. "Can I have your autograph? One for me and one for my sister." Donica jumped in before Augie could answer. "No autographs," she commanded, "and no pictures." "Says who?" asked America. "Says me," Donica answered. "Who made you the boss?" David Corbin asked. "He did," said Donica, jerking a thumb in Augie's direction. "Right, Augie?" Augie shrugged his shoulders and grinned. He couldn't believe how much his life had changed, all because of one little piece of cheese. At lunch, Donica insisted that Augie sit with her at the table by the window. "Hurry up and eat," she said as Augie unwrapped his sandwich. "We need to practice." Donica had taken to carrying a stopwatch with her so she could time Augie when he practiced his charving. "I still don't understand why I have to do it fast," Augie said. "I didn't do it fast at the audition." "You want to win, don't you?" Donica told him. Augie nodded. "You know that kid I told you about who won last year?" Donica continued. "The one who could play the Star-Spangled Banner with his armpit? Well, you wouldn't believe how fast he did it. And the judges loved him. And the kid who cracked the walnuts with his toes? He might have won instead if somebody had told him to speed it up a little. Now hurry up and finish your lunch. We've got work to do. Having no interest any longer in being anywhere near Donica Perfecto, Dawn and Hannah joined Amy at Augie's old table over by the garbage cans. The three girls watched Donica fussing over Augie. Can you believe it? Dawn said. A few days ago she was calling him a loser, and now she's acting like she owns him or something. I can't believe we used to like her, said Hannah. She's so fake. Like, why is she helping Augie try to win? Dawn wondered. We were her best friends, and she didn't even tell us about the audition. Amy didn't say anything. She just looked across the room at Augie and shook her head. He wasn't the only one having a hard time believing how much that piece of cheese had changed things.